And welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems, East Tennessee's leaders in security and safety systems. They're practicing social distancing right now. They're working in gloves. They bring the disinfectant wipes. They do all of that. Plus, right now, if you want your security system tested, they'll do that for free. They'll test your system for free for you, and they'll upgrade your system at a discounted price. They have lower rates right now. Safety Systems, they've been taking care of East Tennessee homes for many, many years. And if you're bored to tears and you need more entertainment options, they can set you up with a nice entertainment package as well. Safety Systems, give my friend VFL JJ Surlis a call this week. Okay, let's start with the roster for Rick Barnes' team. You got 13 guys on scholarship. Let's go ahead and pop her up there. There you go. Only 3 seniors next year, and one of those is E.J. Inosicki, who's transferring in from Sacred Heart. Fulkerson and Bonds. Victor Bailey, who was, of course, redshirting last year, transferred from Oregon. It's going to be a lower class team, so to speak, underclass team. You've got the 6 sophomores, 3 freshmen coming in. When you look at that roster, there's a lot of talent there. And maybe that is why, let's go to the next full screen here, next graphic. Maybe that's why so many people are putting Tennessee top 12, top 13, top 14. You see the writers who so far have put them into the top 15 in the country. A lot of talent on that roster. There's also a lot of new faces. We don't know how they're going to play. We haven't seen them play together. Where are you guys on the rankings? Do you think, are they too high because we haven't seen them? Or are they about right because, hey, on paper, there's a heck of a lot of talent there. Rick Barnes should be able to milk it for a top 15 ranking.
John, I think it's about right. I think you had a lot of those players that you talked about on that roster that were forced to gain some experience last year when maybe they wouldn't have had as much. I also like the additions they've made. I think Bailey at point guard has a chance to be really good based on all the conversation I've had with people that have watched him play. I think Inosicki, who's a good rebounder. Now, he's what, a 6'6", 245-pound power forward, but he can rebound. And usually rebounding translates from one place to another. So I think that that's an addition that was very important. I like the freshmen coming in. And I've kind of learned, and I realize this is at a different level, but Kentucky remakes its roster every year with these young guys, and they're pretty darn good every year. I think in basketball that may be easier to do than some other sports. So even though there's some changes with the roster with Tennessee and some new faces, I think 10 to 15 is about right. I think they can win 25 next year.
Another note on Inosicki is the fact that when you looked at his numbers game by game, his numbers against the big boy teams Sacred Heart played were just as good as they were against some of the smaller competition. So it's not like, okay, well, he piled these up against the Sisters of the Poor. He was pretty good. Vince, your thoughts? Is rankings about right, or do you want to see these guys on the court first?
No, I think they're about right. I agree with Jimmy. If you look at laying the players in that roster out, you did it by classification, and if you do it based on however you do it, returning versus newcomer, position, and then you start to think, all right, who's a starting candidate? If you count E.J. Inosicki, I came up with 8 guys that are starting candidate good right now, and that doesn't even include Corey Walker. I mean, I think the way Rick Barnes talks about Keon Johnson and Jaden Springer and how good they are as two-way players and elite athletes, I think he expects them to play right away, and because of that defense, I think you need to put them in consideration to start. That means you could have a Santiago Vescovi off the bench, or I think Victor Bailey is a great candidate to start too. I've watched him practice, and people on the inside, like you heard Jimmy, they compliment him as well. So I think then if guys continue to get better, you're not even getting to the minutes for Gaines and some others. I think it's a very good roster in terms of talent and ability.
And a quick note on that too. So going into last year, this is a rough deal. Tennessee had lost at least 80% of its points in rebounding, right?
Yeah.
Well, next year they're returning about 80% of their points in rebounding. I think that's a pretty important stat. And I do think it's a really good coaching staff as well, which is why I think they're setting themselves up to have a really, really good basketball team.
Let's see. I think it was Gary Parrish made a note somewhere. Yeah, he said that Tennessee's going to be Kentucky's biggest challenger in the SEC. So for those of you who are tired of Bruce Pearl kind of being ahead of the Vols at the last couple of years, maybe that ends this coming year with Tennessee's roster. Plenty of UT football to come next, though. I kind of want to go off on a tangent, kind of side note of it. Let's talk NFL draft and some of the VFLs that left last year. Where mock drafts have been going. They're being kind of chilly toward the Vols. Come on back, we'll tell you about it.